Comedy Central did a special on Bernie Mac. It was about Bernie Mac's performance at the Apollo. The Apollo is a talent contest that basically has a pass or fail environment. Either the crowd's gonna love you and they'll cheer for you and you'll move on, or they'll hate you and literally boo you off the stage. The person that went on right before Bernie Mac, the crowd hated, and they booed him off the stage really fast. They hated him so much, in fact, that as Bernie Mac was walking on for his turn, the crowd was still very loud and rude and obnoxious from the person before. And he had to go out and start his set into this. So he walked out there, he's really cool and calm like he always is. And he said a few jokes, and he stopped, and he paused, and he gave the crowd that stare that he had. And he said, "I'm not scared of you guys." And then he said a few more jokes, and again he stopped, and he paused. "You don't understand. I'm not scared of you guys." I should probably explain that in my version of this story, I'm using the word "you guys." I'm not scared of you guys. When I saw Bernie Mac do it, he had some other words he used to describe the audience. So this went back and forth for a little while. He'd say a few jokes, he'd stop and yell at the crowd. He'd say a few jokes, he'd stop and yell at the crowd. And every time he did it, the crowd just got more and more into it. And by the time he was done, he'd completely won him over. He won the whole show. And we all know what happened next. He went on to be a huge star. It was about 6 years ago when I saw this. It was right about the time I was joining Toastmasters. Talk about perfect timing. Because I was just so impressed by Bernie Mac. Imagine having to face a hostile crowd to that level and have the guts to say to him what he did. I was just completely blown away. Because that is my fear as a speaker. When I speak in front of a crowd, I'm always afraid I'm going to get booed off the stage. People are going to laugh at me. No one's going to like me. I've always had that fear for as long as I can remember. When I was in college, my least favorite day was the first day of school. I hated the first day of school, and I always wanted to skip it if I knew I had to be there. It was just simply because my anxiety would be so much because I wouldn't know if my teacher would be the teacher that was going to make me stand up and introduce myself to the rest of the class. And I would just be terrified of that. 15 minutes into class, I'd still be thinking, am I out of the woods? Is she going to come back and still make me do this? And if I did have to do it, my whole body would shake. I would just die of embarrassment. So you can imagine how thrilled I was to learn about the equating session we do in our club. I was a teacher for 3 years before I became a personal trainer. But there was a time in college where I almost gave up on that idea. I didn't think I could do it. When it's getting closer and closer to time for me to student teach and have to actually teach to my peers, I was about to give up. I couldn't handle the idea of just getting up in front of people and speaking. And when I was about to just change careers, my parents helped me realize that maybe there's something I can do about this. So I went to the doctor, and they diagnosed me with having social anxiety disorder and severe shyness. Severe shyness. Who knew that was a thing? But it is. They prescribed me Zoloft. I took Zoloft for a couple years, and it really made all the difference for me. I was able to overcome that fear, and I actually loved student teaching, and I was pumped about being a teacher. And I was a good teacher for 3 years. So I don't take the medicine anymore. I haven't for years, but I know it really helped me at the time. But it didn't cure me. I still have that fear. I still have that self-doubt come up all the time. Now I just know that I can overcome it. And so these are just a couple of the things I do when that comes up in me again. I have to manage it. First thing I do is remind myself that I'm good at what I do. I'm a good personal trainer, and I have good content. I have it in me to help a lot of people. And that's my purpose. That's the first thing I remind myself. The second thing I remind myself is that I'm not a taco. And what I mean by that is that I can't please everybody. There's always going to be people that don't like us. That's a hard thing for me to accept. I have to remind myself every day. No matter how good you are in your field, there's always people that don't like you. Oprah has her haters. When I wrote my book and I was promoting my book to try to get it to bestseller ranks, for a while, at one point I had 109 reviews. I had 108 5-star reviews, had one 1-star review. 2 paragraphs of the meanest thing you can say about how terrible someone's book is. That's the way I took it. I gave that one review 10 times more power than the other 108 combined. whenever we get criticism like that, we tend to look in ourselves for flaws. Like, what's wrong with me? How can I fix it? I'm so ashamed and embarrassed. And I've learned that that is not the response to have. The response to have is just to be realistic and honest and know that there's tons of people out there that do what I do. There's a lot of personal trainers out there. So maybe, obviously, I'm not the right person for that guy. But on the flip side of that, there's only one me. There's only one Chad Austin. And for every hater like him that's out there, there's a whole group of people out there that I can make a huge difference in. And so I can't let his voice win. So if you take anything from what I say up here today, I hope that it's that. It's that, sure, there may be a lot of people that do what you do. But it doesn't change the fact that there's only one you. There's only one Sharon. There's only one Jess. There's only one Julie. There's only one of all of you. And while you might have one or two haters, for every one or two haters you have out there, you have a whole group of people that you can make a huge difference in, and you might be the person that can actually change their life. So you can't let the hater's voice win. So I'd like to challenge you today to do what I've had to learn to do in my life to overcome this anxiety, overcome this fear, so I can be my best. Is that when that critical voice pops up in your head, or when that hater shows up in your life, don't give them a megaphone. Silence them. Silence them right away. And the way you do that is you dig deep in yourself, you dig deep and you find that confidence that all of us have, and you use it to build the courage to stand up to them and look them straight in the face and say, I'm not scared of you. Thank you.
Oh, yeah.